Hello friends, my name is Theo, and today in this exciting Meissner Media tutorial, we'll be taking a look at a Peaky Blinders inspired cinematic kind of two-tone-ish look inside of Davinci Resolve. This look was requested by Sola Adiga. Hopefully I got your name pronounced right. Thanks man, I always appreciate you hanging out and, watching my videos. So thanks for that. If you want to, go check him out and tell him hello. So he was nice enough to send me an example image of the type of grade he's going to go after. It's this one right here from Peaky Blinders. It's a cool article if you want to go over and read it. It's at, the Black Magic Design website. I'll put a link for this down in the description if you want to go check it out. But for now, let's hop into Davinci Resolve and get started. So here's a shot from a music video I did pretty recently. It's pretty neat. We're out on the Nashville walking bridge singing and freezing our little butts off. And it was a good time. So the first thing that I noticed about this shot is it's pretty much a two-tone shot. We've got these kind of greeny, bluey, cyany, that kind of edge of the cooler spectrum of the color wheel, and these kind of more yellowy-ish tones up here. So what you'd normally think to do is, drag your lift this way and your gamma that way and call it good to go. But we're going to be a little bit more selective than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our qualifiers tab, uncheck hue and saturation, and then bring our luminance selection way up. Hit Shift H to see what you're selecting. Just keep bringing this up until I'm aiming to sort of get rid of her jacket-ish. And we're not aiming to isolate, objects. Just I want to work on the bright end of the image very selectively and on the low, darker end of the image very selectively. So instead of relying on these controls over here to do that for me, I'm going to make my own. So let's keep bumping this up. See, I just kind of want to get rid of the jacket a little bit. I think that's looking pretty good. I'm going to crank up the denoise some, and I think that's looking pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do is hit Alt-O, and that creates an outside node, and see, we just got the opposite selected. Great. Hit Shift-H again to get rid of that, and we can start our grading. I'm going to pull up this reference on another monitor just so I can be peeking at it. Peaky Blinders, punny, I think. Anyway, so here we've got the dark part and the light part. So I'm going to start on the dark part and kind of bring this down to that sort of greeny region. And I'm going to kind of overdo it, and you'll see why in just a bit. So right now I'm just trying to sort of match the tones as best I can. We won't try and get it exactly right because, we're not crazy. But we're going to try and get it pretty close. And then I'm going to go and select the highs and, make them a little bit yellowier. It'd be nice if my white balance was set correctly, in the camera. But you win some, you lose some. So that is looking terrible, Theo. Start over there. I'm going to maybe try adding some contrast to this. And let's feather out this selection. Oh, my goodness. I didn't soften the selection. Goodness gracious. I'm going to soften the bejesus out of this. That is much better. Okay. Wow. That was a close call. That could have ended up looking really bad. So I'm going to sort of contrast up these highs here. And you see, it's just affecting that high part of the image. So it's this localized contrast thing that I really love. So that's starting to get there. We could maybe even bump this just a bit. Like I said, I'm going to kind of overdo it because I'm going to bring it back down in just a bit. Also going to go and contrast this up a smidgen, and by smidgen I mean a whole lot apparently. There we go. That's looking pretty good. You can see before and after. We're definitely getting there. The next thing I'm going to do is hit Alt-L. Whoa, that's too many. Make a new layer mixer node. I'm just going to delete this connection here. I'm going to connect this corrector node up to the input there. And what a layer mixer does is kind of just what it sounds like. It acts like layers. So you can combine these in ways that make sense to Photoshop or After Effects or Premiere users. So what we're going to use this for is kind of do a more normal grade on this corrector, maybe add a little bit of contrast, increase the saturation some, that sort of thing. So it looks kind of normal-ish. Then we're going to go over to our layer mixer node, hit Shift-H to undo that silliness. And in here, we're going to make sure our composite mode is set to normal. It should be out of the box, but if you want to go play around with some of these other composite nodes, it can be a lot of fun. Next, we're going to go back to our corrector node where we kind of did a more normal grade. We're going to pop over to our key tab. And what this will let us do is sort of reduce the opacity of the grade. So here I'm just going to turn the gain down, and we'll see, if we turn it down to 0, we get all of this top layer. Turn it up to 1, we get all of this bottom layer. So here we can bring it down some to taste. And now at about, 33-ish%, we're getting somewhere. I'm going to hit one more node to just sort of play around with this a little bit more. Maybe bump up the saturation. No, bump down the saturation just a bit. Make it just a little bit more contrasty. I want to bump up these highs some too. And maybe even make it a little bit more yellowier. And then finally what we're going to do is go over to our luminance versus saturation. And this is a big thing with cinematic looks like this that not a lot of people know, is desaturating your shadows. So what we're going to do here is just click on this bottom, and what this does is shows which luminous range of the image that you're selecting. So shadows down here, highlights up here, midtones here. We all got that. And then it lets you determine how much saturation you want in those parts. So it's really great. So I'll just click on this shadows and bring it down. You see the shadows are getting desaturated and the highlights still have color going on. I'm just going to modify this some so it's not quite so dramatic. Might add just a little bit because I'm Theo up there, and then bring them down just a bit in the highlights. And if you look at this image, you'll see the shadows are green, but the blacks are black, and the highlights are yellowy, but the whites are pretty much white. So that's what this is doing. So now our skin tones are still a little bit kind of pinkenta-y for me. So I'm just going to go do our hue versus hue. Just make a really big, broad adjustment. And what this does is it shows the hue that you're selecting and then shifts just that hue. And it can really screw you up a lot, but it's pretty good in small doses for correcting skin tones. Get rid of that. There we go. And now we're just going to try our best. It's kind of hit and miss sometimes, but there we go. Just kind of yellowing it out a little bit. So see how much that one node did to bring us from here up to this much better looking thing? And finally, just like too many cinematic looks out there, you're going to throw a vignette on this bad boy. Crank up the size, make it a little bit ovally, crank up the softness, not that much. Invert it and throw our gain down. Maybe, make it a little bit more selective. But from there, I think we've got something that looks pretty good. Once again, if your white balance is set correct, this will be a little bit better. But you know how LEDs are and run and gun shooting. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you liked it, be sure to give it a like. If you didn't, be sure to give it a dislike. Once again, shout out to Sola Ariga for suggesting this. Be sure to go give him some love over on his channel. Be sure to tell me what you think of this grade down in the comments below, because I always love reading people's comments and hearing what they have to say. If you've got any suggestions, get them to me somehow, however you feel like it. If you're going to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the Meissner Media YouTube channel. If you're going to see even more Meissner Media stuff, be sure to check out our social media links down below in the description. While you're on your various social platforms, be sure to share the video with your friends, because I'm sure they would all love to see how to get a Peaky Blinders look inside of Davinci Resolve. At least if your friends are anything like my friends, then they'd love to see that. Once again, I've been Theo with Meissner Media. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you next time. Bye.